You are listening to the Bring Joy Forward podcast. Conversations to explore, heal, and grow. You can find us on bringjoyforward.com and join us in our community group on Facebook. We now take you to the episode. Thank you for joining us. Hello, and welcome to the Bring Joy Forward podcast. I am Shannon Dias with Imagine If Media, joined by Shannon Brown from Open Door Healing. And we are going to touch on life is heavy. What do we do? And there's lots of heavy going on in the world right now. And then I feel like there's always lots of heavy, right? If it's not in the world, it's something that's going on in our life or our friends' lives or somebody that we know. If you happen to be an empath, you're feeling all of that. Maybe you're an empath and you don't know it. You don't understand why you're so sad or why life is so much of a struggle, or that you need to, lay on the couch and watch Netflix on binge for a little bit. I mean, life is what it is, right? So we're here to kind of acknowledge that life can be heavy and maybe give you some tips and tools and tricks along the way to alleviate that space a little bit, and just let you know it's okay to have life be heavy sometimes. And once it reaches that point of severity, obviously you need to reach out for some help. But laying on the couch and binge watching Netflix because you need to for a couple of days in a row, it's okay. It's really okay. So I thought I would kind of just start, excuse me, and then I'll let Shannon jump in. For me, I walk with grief on a constant basis. And we've talked about this before. It is an active effort to continue to do life. It doesn't mean that I don't want to do life. It does not mean that I am never happy, or that, laughter is faked or my joy is faked or anything like that. But it does mean I have to decide every day to get up and to go out and to do the things. And there are some days when I decide, nope, I am not doing that. It does not feel right to do it. And, sometimes I have to kind of make it through the day because I have a job that I have to do or responsibilities that I have to do. And then I come back and I crash at the end of the day. And that's okay to do that. So if you're one of those people out there that's just really struggling, and maybe you have something that's, that you walk with all the time, it's okay to have those days. And I think that the acknowledgement of, and we talked about it in another podcast, adequate, the acknowledgement of being adequate is very important. You don't have to go out there and seize the day every single day. You don't have to, grab life by the horns and do all those things. Sometimes you can just be, and that's okay. But when you're in those spaces, it's also okay to look for things that might pull you out of it. And I call those opportunities for joy. And so I kind of just wanted to spend a little bit of time on that opportunity for joy scenario, because Shannon and I both live in those worlds where we are constantly putting ourselves in an opportunity to find it. And maybe we start and we don't, but we find it. And one of the things that we both do, and Shannon does this far regularly than I do and is quite the motivator for me, is to dive into a regular practice of something. And we both utilize art, but Shannon has gone through quite a few iterations of an art practice. And one of them that she did, excuse me, in 2024 was to take masterpieces of art and to recreate them. And I kind of wanted you to talk about that for a little bit, and that practice of just having something that you do that you're kind of expecting yourself to do it, that you'll get some joy out of it, and it kind of drags you into that zone. If you want to dive into that a little bit.
Sure. I will also say that it has this art journey that I made up for myself. I'm going through some of Van Gogh's paintings, and it's through an oracle card set. And with the oracle card set, also the person who made this up has a booklet that goes along with it, has meditations, talks about the painting, blah, blah, blah. So when I first started it, I tried to paint like Van Gogh. Okay. I wanted it to, my paintings to look like him. Now, I've honestly only been painting a lot since 4 years ago. I started a painting soul journey 4 years ago. Before that, it was like painting with a twist. You bring your bottle of wine and you copy what the art teacher has, and everybody's looks different, blah, blah, blah. But you have a good time about it. And I still have some of those paintings in my house because they were fun. But so this journey I started out with was so frustrating because I'm not Van Gogh. I don't want to be Van Gogh because he didn't leave at least from what I've read, he didn't lead a very happy life. And my whole point in life is to be happy, to live with joy, peace, grace, simplicity. That's ease. Ease is a big one. And now as I continue to age in this human body. So it was very frustrating at first because I was trying to be like him. And then I came to a turning point, but I kept going. And I have painted over several of them. I've kept some of them, hanging on in my hallway, in my little private art gallery. But as I continued the journey, I came to the point of I'm just trying to get the essence of what he was trying to paint. So if it was a beautiful garden, I'm trying to paint a beautiful garden with, some of the same placements that he has. Like if he did an iris, I'm trying to do an iris and not a rose, but yeah, I can go to the canvas now because it used to be very frustrating. Okay. And I was just like, I want to just paint over all this. And let me just throw this out there. If you're a beginning artist, because we're all artists in some way, give it at least a day before you paint over it. Okay. And that's my painting.
I'm going to say a week.
Yeah, or whatever it needs. That was one of the things that one of the painting teachers was like, just don't go throw it in the garbage as you go home. Look at it the next day. And again, your spirit imbues into the painting, especially if you're doing spirit painting work. And I do have to say that usually the next day or a week, I might just set it aside. It's like, that's really not that bad. And I can see major improvement. Oh my gosh, trying to paint any kind of human figure was like, because I can't even draw a stick figure with a straight line, even with a ruler. That's not my deal. But after painting so many buildings, and like this last one I did this week, there were two figures in it, and it just came out so easy. So now I'm having fun with it. Whereas before it was frustrating, but I was learning, and I was giving myself grace. So again, yes, and I look forward now to go to the canvas. And I think now, because I've made a turning point, I'm excited to go to the canvas to see what I can do. Because the more that we go to anything, whether it be a canvas or the garden or whatever skill that we're trying to get better at, and we imbue it with our spirit, you do get to a turning point like, I can do this. And then you get excited about, well, what more can I do? Like the next card, I've already pulled the next card, and it's going to be a little bit harder than the last couple that I've done, but I'm excited to see what I can do with it. And so it's turned from, and again, I'm the only one putting the pressure on myself. Nobody said, okay, yes, you have to do this Van Gogh journey. Because I was just I went to, it's been a couple of years ago. We went to, a couple of my friends and I went to one of the Van Gogh immersive experiences where it's like they just have a big warehouse and they have his paintings going across the walls, and with music, it just touched my heart. I was like, and that's why I wanted to paint like him, because it touched my heart. And so even this person that lived a while back and who never, I think he sold one painting the whole time he was alive.
Lesson for all you artists out there.
Exactly. Then I'm like, hey, I've sold 5 of my paintings. They were just still, but so I'm like way ahead. It's not a contest. But
well,
and we never know. So this person has touched my heart, and it has taken me on a spiritual journey, and not even knowing that he would ever do that. So I want you to also keep in mind that you don't know, you have no idea how many lives that you're going to touch. How many people go and stand in front of a Van Gogh and just are enthralled with what he could do and the beauty, and you can tell when you look at his stuff that he put everything he had into it,
and that's it right there. Like, he put everything he had into it. And so your frustration didn't ease up until you stopped trying to be Van Gogh, right? You needed to be Shannon in what you were doing. And so you had to put yourself into it. And I think that's the key, is that whatever it is that you're doing, you're putting yourself in places and doing things where the opportunity is going to be there for something to attract your heart, which is what happened, with you. You went and you saw this immersive exhibit, and you did not expect to be moved in the way that you were. And then, being a typical human, you took that, I feel so much joy in this. I want to make this myself, and I want to do what he did and do this and this thing. And you did this whole, comparison. And I say all the time, comparison is the thief of joy. You did this comparison thing where you're like, I want to paint like him, when really you need to paint like Shannon, whatever that looks like. And, in anything that you do, art especially, repetition is what's going to get you to that point. Sure, there are people that have a natural ability right out the gate to start doing things, whether it be, a creative mind, or whether they're doing something tactile with their hands, whether they're drawing, whatever it is. But art, you don't get to a point of being really comfortable with your art until you are practicing that over and over and over again. And and that's what that repetition does in anything. So, we're talking about art in this situation, but maybe your thing is fixing cars. Like, it could be anything. But if it's something that you feel when you're doing it, and you are processing feelings when you're doing it, then that puts you into a situation that is spiritual in my mind, right? Whenever I get in front of a canvas, I have no idea what is going to happen from beginning to end in that process of the canvas. Because for me, it is a spiritual journey. I'm not copying one thing from another. I might be, pulling ideas in. I might have done a sketch. Most of the time I don't. I just flow. And so I get to a space internally where I am mostly just either feeling, or I am just like not even aware of surroundings. I'm just like in this buzzy space in my head, where I go someplace else. And I think we all have the capability to reach that state if we allow ourselves to find the things that bring us to that state. And that doesn't happen if we don't put ourselves in those opportunities. And sometimes it means doing something that you had absolutely not on your radar at all. Somebody calls you up and says, hey, I'm going to go to this antique car show. Do you want to go? And you're like, no, but you go anyway, because it's a friend and it's something new. And then maybe when you're there, you see something and you're like, wow, I want to make that. I could do that. Or, I want to collect that, or I want to learn everything I can about that, or whatever. You don't know until you're in that situation. And I think, Shannon was talking originally about, it went from the paint nights where you're just copying something that's put in front of you. That's just an experience, right? You're there to just have a good time, hang out and have a good time. The intention is what makes the difference in every act that you do. So her intention there is to go and have a good time and just chill or whatever. But when Shannon or I need to go to a place within ourselves and process something, we intentionally do things differently. So Shannon might not draw Van Gogh and pull a card in that case. That's a different situation because she's doing that to actually dive into her practice more. She's giving more into that practice. Whereas if she's wanting to process something, she's just going to grab paint and paper and it's just going to happen. She's just going to throw the stuff down and whatever is inside her is going to come out on that piece of paper. And that the same thing with me. And that's what we're saying here is allow yourself those spaces to, you know, to be, to feel, to do whatever, you know, you need to do when life is super heavy. You know, maybe it's Netflix, maybe it's really Netflix needs to sponsor us with the amount of times that I mentioned that. Or you know, or maybe it's reading a book or whatever it is. But allow yourself to be in those spaces and do those things. But also, kind of, you have to make the decision to also put yourself in places of opportunity, because that's where that magic kind of happens. That's where you see something, feel something, maybe want to find out a little bit more about it, and that kind of leads into the next revelation of self, which is the difference between the I'm going to go do a sip and paint to I'm going to go do a spiritual painting journey. And it's that intention and that awareness that kind of brings us into that space. Did you want to add anything else to the roundup, to the wrap up?
Well, okay, just I'm going to give you a little bit of a chuckle. So Shannon brought in the fixing the car thing, right? So my husband's a mechanic. I've been married to him for 41 years, been hanging out with him for about 43. And he's always fixed cars, airplanes, blah, blah, tractors, blah, blah, blah. And being his wife, I have been asked to be there to hand tools and so on, right? Now, you would think that after being around him for so long that I would know something mechanical, and I do not. I mean, it is to the point where, like, if he's working on a car, he'll be like, it's in the third drawer down, it has a blue handle and a pointy thing. Or what he's describing the tool. I mean, I know what a wrench is, but he has 50 different wrenches. And I know what, you know, a flat and the other one, I can't think of it. Yes, Phillips. But again, he has at least 50 different screwdrivers. So this is how it. So even if you are put in those situations, my mind just doesn't work. I do not have a mechanical mind like that. Okay. But I have picked up a couple of little things. But what he's also, and his mind definitely does not work like mine. Like he'll be asking, what are you thinking about if he's driving or something? I'm like, oh, I'm looking at that cloud and it looks like a puppy dog. And in the last couple of years, he's actually started seeing shapes in clouds, whereas before he couldn't do it. So he's rubbed off a little on me. I rubbed off a little on him. Now my son has a mechanical mind and can do almost the same thing as Jim can. You know,
yeah, that's how I am. My brain works like that.
Yeah. See, so that's really, I just thought that was funny when you were saying that. I just started laughing. And then I'm trying to think of what else I was going to say. No, sorry, about the heavy thing, but when life is getting heavy. So again, Shannon and I are on a joy journey. We've made that decision that this is what we want: joy, peace, ease, simplicity. This is what we work for. And some days we wake up, we're just like, yeah, it's a great day, blah, blah, blah. We're going to get stuff done. And then I had a day the other day that I didn't want to do, excuse my friends, shit. I didn't want to do anything. Okay. Yeah. I didn't want to watch any videos about all the, because I watched several different astrologers about how the planets are aligning and what we need to do. And it would be best if you did this, or it's a new moon and we should be releasing our intentions and blah. And I'm just like, I don't want to do anything.
Should.
Yeah. I don't. even in a conversation with my brother, he told me the first line was, "It's okay to do diddly squat."
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
I was like, thank you, Alan, thank you for saying that, because again, so when life gets heavy, it's okay. But I'm also going to throw out there, maybe if you can, go outside, try to find a flower or a butterfly, or even try to notice those things, those very small things that bring a smile to your face. And that can make all the difference. Like my grandson and I went to Starbucks yesterday, and they just redid it. We're in the drive-thru. They planted these beautiful white and pink rose bushes, like right there at the drive-thru. And I'm like, oh my God, they're so beautiful. I mean, I had to take a picture of them. They were so beautiful. And I was like, roll down your window, Caden. You got to see the beautiful flowers. And he's like, oh yeah, he's 5, by the way. Oh yeah, they're very pretty, Grandma. But look for those things. But look for those things that just in that moment, I had so much joy that someone else, and here again, the person that planted those or picked those bushes, whoever made that decision to put those there, had no idea how much joy they were going to bring me or anybody else. And I would say, and I may be wrong, that probably 90% of the people that go through that drive-thru do not even notice those roses. Right. I mean, I'm hoping that it's much smaller than that, but that they would actually stop and say, thank you for planting those, because they brought me such joy. And now every time I go through the drive-thru, I'm gonna see those, instead of being like, oh, why are they taking so long with my drink, or the little grumble. Right. So when life gets heavy, find those things that can help you lighten up. Yeah. If it's Netflix, if it's, watching some romantic comedy, make a list of 20 of your favorite puppies. Do what?
Looking for puppies, watching like the zoo videos of, live feeds of the zoo and all those things.
Or like
you can't get outside, you can still get outside.
Right. Yeah, still get outside. But he loves to watch silly cats on YouTube. Now I've noticed, because I pick him up every afternoon from kindergarten. Now when he comes home, because sometimes I'll bring him to my house and we'll play and blah, blah, blah. And then sometimes he's like, oh, I just want a snack and I want to watch silly cats. Well, I found out
I feel that, kid.
Well, yeah, I do too. But it's also the days he just wants to rest. And sometimes he falls asleep on the couch watching them. And, so already at 5, he knows there are days I want to play. And there are days I need to watch silly cats and take a nap. And we all need to be reminded it is okay to watch silly cats and take a nap when things are heavy. Or when things are not, if you just want to, So take the wisdom from my 5-year-old grandson and my brother. It's okay to do diddly squat.
I love it. And on that note, we want to thank you for listening with us today on the Bring Joy Forward podcast, and we'll see you next time. You have been listening to the Bring Joy Forward podcast. Conversations to explore, heal, and grow. You can find us at bringjoyforward.com, and we'd love to have you join us in our community Facebook group. Thank you for listening.